Good evening and welcome. I've covered wildfires in California since the earliest days of my career, and I don't remember anything quite like the firestorms raging across Southern California tonight. Multiple major infernos destroying more than 1,000 homes and businesses, killing at least 5 people and defying efforts to contain them. Firefighters in Pacific Palisades outmanned and in some cases out of water. Hydrants running dry. Firefighting aircraft for a time grounded by ferocious winds, some gusting around 100 miles per hour. Rows of homes and restaurants along the Pacific Coast Highway were consumed by the flames. This is what it looked and sounded like. Almost haunting. The Pacific Palisades fire growing to nearly 16,000 acres. 40 miles away, the Eaton fire turned deadly and has exploded to over 10,000 acres. Tonight, thousands in the region are under evacuation orders, filling shelters. Schools are closed, while power is out for 1.5 million Southern Californians. Gadi Schwartz is in the fire zone to start our coverage.
This area of Altadena has become an absolute wasteland. You've got rows and rows of homes that have burned. You've got some homes that are still standing, but it's just a matter of time.
This was the moment the sun rose over the fire raging above Pasadena, but you'd never know it because the dawn disappeared in the smoke.
Again, you hear those explosions. So many of these homes, there is no hope.
But against the odds in Mother Nature, some stayed doing everything they could to fight back.
There are people still here trying to fight this fire with garden hoses. There is still water in this area, but with this much destruction, it almost seems futile. You were here fighting by yourself, right?
Yes.
How long have you been out here?
I've been out here since 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Yes.
Trying to protect your home.
Yes.
You now have a full, contingent of firefighters here.
Yes.
It seems like it's right in the nick of time. But
They saved this home for now.
let's go. Go! Hey, I'm taking it in.
A scene that played out across so many fire lines, from the foothills of the Angeles Mountains to the Palisades.
And then trying to make entrance. They're smashing down that door. They got to go inside. They got to make sure no one is here.
Who else is left in the house? Right. Yeah,
Homeowners on rooftops trying to wet down everything.
Here they come! I'm gonna help you!
It's hard to show the scope of what's going on.
As we headed down Sunset Boulevard, the loss was worse than any fire we've ever seen.
And this looks like the apocalypse here.
In the chaos, way too often, firefighters left without water as hydrants went dry.
They are not designed to fight wildfires. A firefight with multiple fire hydrants drawing water from the system for several hours is unsustainable.
Water!
Officials say they weren't able to fill tanks fast enough, which would have helped with the water pressure. Something NBC's Morgan Chesky saw firsthand.
Out of every fire hydrant you've seen, what have you found?
Right now, we're finding most of them are down or low pressure.
If you had a hydrant for this building,
If we had a hydrant for this building, we might have been able to save the back house.
This apartment complex is untouched for now, but you can see how close those flames are. Firefighters are making their way up. Again, they're having to ignore massive structures like this huge apartment complex that it looks like it's going to go up imminently because they are just overwhelmed. There isn't enough water up here.
The winds also grounding that critical support from the sky for most of the day. And when firefighters were able to make a stand and save a home, there was no victory. Just a brief reprieve from the helplessness of fighting fire against the wind.
Gadi, I feel like you really took us into what it is like there. This devastation goes well beyond the homes destroyed in Pacific Palisades.
Yeah, well beyond the homes. The scope of this is so difficult to comprehend. We've seen schools, we have seen synagogues, we've seen churches here along the Palisades. This is the heart of the Palisades. You've got a restaurant, down to the banks here in the Palisades have been reduced to ash. And unfortunately, we've been in the neighborhoods above, below, and to each side of the heart of the Palisades. And so far, they're saying about 1,000. That's a preliminary number, 1,000 structures lost. We can tell you that number is going to climb significantly. Lester?
All right, Gotti, thank you. Until today, it was hard to imagine destruction on this scale. Today, our Liz Kreutz saw some of the worst of it.
A massive and deadly wildfire emergency is unfolding in Southern California. From the Pacific Palisades to Pasadena, multiple infernos continuing mass destruction of homes and businesses. Tens of thousands forced to evacuate.
Last night was one of the most devastating and terrifying nights that we've seen in any part of our city at any part of our history.
On the coast, the Palisades fire exploding to more than 15,000 acres. 75-mile-per-hour winds overnight, pushing the flames up the Pacific Coast Highway, where it overtook the iconic city of Malibu and created this apocalyptic scene stretching for miles on the California coast.
We're watching multiple beachfront properties here just go up in flames. First responders trying to get a hold of the fires. All the neighboring properties here destroyed as the winds are picking up.
In the Pacific Palisades, officials say at least 1,000 structures lost. Across Southern California, high winds and protected power shutoffs have left more than 1 million people in the dark. At the Eaton fire burning in Altadena, 45 minutes from the coast, at least 5 people have died and more than 100 structures destroyed. As wind-whipped embers expanded the fire's path, it forced the evacuation of this assisted living facility.
You'll see the people on stretchers and just the effort, very rapid effort to try to get these people out of harm's way.
For many, the race to get out was by any means necessary.
Which is your house? Yeah, this is our house. Backyard's on fire. I'm out of here.
Some of the most expensive real estate in the world reduced to rubble on Pacific Coast Highway.
Here on PCH, home after home after home of beachfront properties are destroyed. Usually you would see the Pacific Ocean there. Now it's just ashes and smoke.
As fires still burn, officials urging residents not to ignore evacuation orders.
A high number of significant injuries to residents who did not evacuate, in addition to first responders who were on the fire line.
Today, President Biden meeting with local officials, including Governor Gavin Newsom, who toured the destruction.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
The closest approximation was Paradise, California, which is one of the most deadly fires in U.S. history. But at this stage, a little over 24 hours, nothing comes close.
Tonight, thousands displaced with the flames still threatening homes.
This is the garage.
In Malibu, Steve Wiggins says he tried everything to save his.
So I kept spraying all the embers, and then the next thing I know, a 30-foot wall of fire was coming at 60 miles an hour, and I couldn't see, and it was so smoky, and I said, well, it's time to leave.
He came back today to find nothing.
We lost everything we owned, but it doesn't even look like a house anymore. It just looks like a something.
A lot of heartbreak, Liz. The fire threat's still very active tonight.
It really is, Lester. In fact, here in Malibu, you can see these crews continuing to work here as they try to put out the flames that are beginning to consume this home here on the coast. Millions across L.A. are on alert right now, with some evacuation orders even issued in Santa Monica, with red flag warnings continuing through at least Friday. Lester.
All right, Liz Kreutz, thanks. We want to give you a lay of the land now as to where all this is happening and look at why resources may be so stretched. Los Angeles County is the most populous county in the nation, with major urban centers, sparkling beach communities, and rugged mountains. Pacific Palisades, where the first fire broke out yesterday, sits on the coast, Malibu to its north, iconic Santa Monica to its south. Moving inland 25 miles to the north and east of the Palisades is the Sylmar area. That's where the Hearst fire is burning. And then another 25 miles southeast from there is Altadena near Pasadena, where the deadly Eaton fire is raging tonight and where we find our Steve Patterson. Steve, good evening.
Lester, the air quality here has been miserable for now more than 24 hours. You can feel it. And when the smoke bill is like this, it travels for miles. Area hospitals now filling up due to smoke inhalation, with experts saying the best thing you can do is to stay inside. And even then, if you have an air purifier, use one. If you have to be out in this, wet rags and surgical masks will not work. You need an N95 with a purifier. Today, the air quality index, or AQI, reached more than 300. That's hazardous to everyone, not just the most at-risk groups. Lester?
All right. Thanks, Steve Patterson. Our colleagues at our NBC station in Los Angeles, KNBC, have been working nonstop for more than 24 hours covering this disaster. Their deep connection to those communities reflected in so much of their coverage, including this moment when reporter Michelle Valles was on the air as neighbors battled flames consuming the home next door.
This home next to it was on fire, and they were making gains here. They were making gains, and then all of a sudden the winds picked up. And you can just see how it's fueling the fire next door as these neighbors desperately try to keep their home from catching fire. So you're just helpless as you watch these people doing probably, you put yourself in their situation, and it's really dark, and it's really fiery here. There's a lot of explosions, and there's just no help in sight, and you're just wondering when this is all going to end. Riverside County, please stop. Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Praise the Lord. I mean, they're going to really douse this fire here.
An amazing television moment and certainly an amazing moment of humanity. Let me bring in Al Roker now. Al, what are the conditions that help fuel these fires? Is there any sense and sign of relief?
There is some relief coming, Lester. We saw those air flights resume because the winds have died down. The biggest problem is since October 1st, they've gotten less than 10% of their average rainfall. The good news is this high pressure, low pressure combo that has been squeezing these Santa Ana winds out. That's been the problem. Well, now they're starting to move to the east and separate, so the winds are starting to die down. That's good news. In fact, you can see those winds overnight coming down, the gusts into single digits in some spots. Now, the next thing we're worried about, that storm system in the southwest, that's going to cause 52 million people to be under winter storm warnings, advisories, watches. Snowfall amounts, Dallas 2 to 5, 3 to 6 in Tupelo, plus icing conditions stretching from Texas all the way into the southeast. Big travel problems over the next 24 hours.
Okay, Al, thank you for that update.